So, where does that deep, unshakable feeling of worthlessness really come from? It's a question that honestly a lot of us grapple with. And today we're going to dive into a pretty profound psychoanalytic theory that traces it all the way back to our very first year of life. You know that feeling, right? That nagging sense that you're just fundamentally flawed. It doesn't matter what you've accomplished. You could have the great job, the relationships, all the success on paper, but inside, there's this little voice whispering that you're just not good enough. Well, the theory we're digging into today, which is based on the work of psychoanalyst Juha Klaavu, suggests that the roots of that feeling go way deeper than we can consciously remember. I mean, all the way back to our first year on Earth, when our sense of who we are was just starting to form. Okay, so to really get this, we first have to be super clear about the specific wound we're talking about. This isn't just having a bad day or feeling some temporary self-doubt. No, this is a core, gut-level feeling of being completely unworthy. And what's so wild is that this feeling often haunts incredibly successful, smart, and capable people. It just flies in the face of all logic, all the external evidence. It's like there's this hidden operating system running in the background of your mind telling you you're no good no matter what you achieve. The real mystery is why. Well, the answer, according to this theory, is all about how our earliest sense of self gets constructed, right from the very beginning. Klaavu uses this amazing metaphor. Think of your psyche as a sphere. Right at the very center of it is what he calls the core experience. This is the foundational belief we form about ourselves in that first year. Every single thing that happens to you after that is just another layer on top, either strengthening that core or maybe changing it a little. And if that core experience is a negative one, its message can be just brutal. This quote right here describes the kind of belief system that can get cemented at the very center of a person's being. It's not just a bad thought. It's a deep-seated conviction that you are fundamentally broken. Now, to really understand why this is so powerful, we have to talk about something called the body-mind. You see, a baby doesn't separate thoughts from feelings the way an adult does. For an infant, an experience is total. It's a complete, all-encompassing state of being. And that's why these early moments are so potent. They aren't just memories. They are literally imprinted on our entire system before we even have words for them. Okay, this brings us to a really, really crucial distinction when it comes to parenting. The difference between being physically taken care of and being emotionally met. Just look at this comparison here. On one side, you've got physical care. Feeding, changing diapers, putting a roof over their head. All vital stuff, of course, but it can be done almost like a robot. On the other side, you have emotional care. This is about a real, genuine, present connection. It's the difference between just having your needs serviced and feeling truly seen. And this slide just gives such a perfect modern example. A parent can be right there, feeding their baby, taking care of that physical need, but if their mind and their attention is on their phone, they are emotionally a million miles away. And to that baby's body-mind, that's not just a minor distraction. It feels like a profound, terrifying, emotional abandonment. Now, it is so important to stress this. This theory is not about blaming parents for not being perfect. Nobody is perfect. No parent is emotionally available 100% of the time. The psychoanalyst D.W. Winnicott had a great term for this. He called it good enough mothering. The point is creating a safe environment where a child's needs are met consistently enough. We're talking about situations where that emotional instability is a major recurring pattern. So, how does this pattern of emotional absence actually create that deep wound of worthlessness? Let's look at the exact mechanism behind this traumatic shift. So, in the ideal situation, you have a caregiver who is stable and emotionally present, what the theory calls being rooted in their true self. This provides a safe, predictable world for the infant. The baby learns a really basic fundamental lesson. The world is a trustworthy place, and so am I. But what happens when the mother is unstable? Maybe because of her own trauma, she unpredictably shifts into what Klaavu calls these chaotic self-states. For the baby, the loving, safe person they depend on for everything just vanishes. And in her place, they are plunged into this terrifying, all-consuming pain universe. Let's just walk through this traumatic shift, because this is the key moment. One minute, the loving, present mother is there. The next, something inside of her just shifts, and she becomes cold, or angry, or just gone. To the infant, their entire world has just collapsed for no reason they can understand. And with no other way to explain this terrifying change, the baby's mind comes to a desperate conclusion. This has to be my fault. I must be bad to make my mother go away. And right there, that's it. That's the moment the core belief of worthlessness is born. And this deep, pre-verbal wound, it doesn't just stay in childhood. It creates these patterns that echo all throughout a person's adult life. So let's see how this actually plays out in a couple of case studies from the source material. So first up, we have a man who was incredibly successful in his career, but in his relationships, he felt completely and totally worthless. His whole pattern was to unconsciously tune in and adapt to his partner's every little mood and need, basically losing himself in the process. And why? Because as a tiny child, he had developed these super sensitive emotional antennae to sense his mother's chaotic shifts. His very survival depended on pleasing her to keep the good mother around. And now, as an adult, he's still playing that same role, terrified of the abandonment he thinks will follow if he doesn't. Okay, on to our second case. This is a woman who came from what looked like a perfect family on the outside, but she was haunted by this feeling of being horrible and was always unconsciously finding ways to get rejected. See, on the surface, her parents were always kind and polite, but their love was mechanical. It was like they were actors just playing the role of loving parents. They were emotionally absent. She was never really seen for who she was. So her core experience became, I am unworthy of real love, and I deserve to be abandoned. And what happens in her adult life? She unconsciously seeks out relationships that are guaranteed to end in rejection, just to confirm that deep, painful belief over and over again. So we've seen how this wound gets created and how it echoes through the years, but what is the single most important thing to take away from all of this? It's this. This is the most powerful insight of all. That deep, painful feeling of being fundamentally flawed, that is not a true reflection of who you are. It is the echo of a story that started before you could even speak. It is the result of something that happened to you. And that, of course, leads us to a final and really crucial question. Understanding where this pain comes from is the first giant step. But if this wound has a beginning, if it has a cause and a story, does that mean its story can also be changed? Thanks for joining me.